everyone, welcome to another video on the JayBee and Milly channel. Today we are going to be reviewing the next episode of Scooby Doo and Guess Who, which is The Cursed Cabinet of Professor Mads Markson.
Hey, so that is incredible. So we're a few episodes into this now, so we're quite familiar with the format from the show's end. But for people watching this for the first time, what we do here at first is we talk about the guest that's currently in the episode of Scooby Doo and Guess Who. And this time it is Penn Teller. So I'll be honest, it's names I've heard somewhere. Like, I don't know if it's just in our comment section, like people saying, oh, you should watch out for the Penn Teller episode, or, you know, Penn Teller should guest again. I don't know if it's that or if it's like some subconscious thing. But Milly, I'll ask you, how familiar are you with Penn or Teller or both of them?
I wouldn't be any the wiser if they'd just been made up for this episode.
Yeah. I agree, because it confuses me that, like, how would you go about following these geezers? Like, because I know they're magicians, and it says, hey, they're magicians and entertainers, Penn and Teller, but how would you go about becoming a fan of these? I assume Netflix magic shows, but then that's so far out of the realm of what I would watch. That...
See, I'd even say, like for a magician in modern day, which obviously I'm assuming this isn't how they did it, but, like, you do like magic tricks on TikTok. That's how you gain a following and stuff like that.
Yeah.
From the kind of way this is portrayed, I'd say it's kind of like performers in Vegas. Vegas is known for shows and performances, so...
Yeah, so I do wonder if this is another instance of, you know, more of an American type of thing. It would be interesting to see in the comment section if any UK followers that we have, or even followers just outside of the state, how familiar you are with Penn and Teller or any of that. But what I know is that they are magicians, and for all I'm not a great fan of magic shows, I mean, name a famous Houdini. That's
Dynamo.
Like, who the heck is Dynamo?
Isn't the one called Dynamo? He had a show like Dynamo Magician Impossible or something.
You're probably 1,000,000% right. Dynamo, yeah. I'm not sure. That aside, we've got an interesting setting, like you've mentioned, which is Las Vegas. And I really like the concept of Scooby-Doo in Las Vegas, because there's done a few episodes. The one that springs to my mind instantly, I think it's the What's New Scooby-Doo episode, Riva Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one where it's like the guy, he like ties himself up to the thing, and then there's like an underground cabinet? Like, it's a lot of nostalgia, and I love it a lot. So I do think there's great potential here. And even just Las Vegas is as a concept, me being from the UK, never been anywhere near Las Vegas, I've got a very romanticized, you know, view on it, where it's, you go there, there's massive casinos, it's like Dusty Tales from Looney Tunes back in action. Like, that to me is Las Vegas. I don't really, you know what I mean? So I can buy this concept. I don't know if it's completely accurate, but I'm happy.
I mean, I've certainly heard that there's a romanticized version of Vegas, and that it is kind of like you see in the first scene, if you go at night and there's all the lights shining, it's lovely, but not a place for the day. But then, heard of the other things too. Yeah,
there's Rick Harrison's shop that I do want to go to Vegas one day, you know. Oh, I love it. So, let's talk about the cold open. And this was an interesting one.
I quite like cold open, so you get that early kind of shot of the villain. And I like the aesthetics of this one. So you've got that building site, and it almost kind of projects on this big screen behind them and then flies in. And yeah, I like it aesthetically. Really like it.
What was interesting to me about this, and I didn't notice it in the cold open, but later on when they were going through like the chasing towards the end, when this creepy purple man shows up, I actually thought that they'd done a little bit of risk taking, in that it actually looked like there was some type of like decay on the face, like it was an actual zombie ghost. Like, it had actually not just been, oh, let's have creepy Scooby-Doo ghost, but it was actually like, let's try and make this guy a bit creepier. So I did really, it's not like I'm saying, oh, the gorier the villains the better, but I appreciate when it's a little bit more, it feels like there's more risk to the episode, rather than just, here's some kooky character that we're going to be, you know, chased by, even though we know that there's no actual risk. Because, again, there's no risk to any of these episodes, but it's nice to have that feeling of suspense.
Okay, perfect. Well, then, like you say, we get the titles and we're into the episode. So, for me, this one's a little bit kind of can be a little bit all over the place at times. So I think the general concept we've got is the hotel shutting down and it's a haunted place. There's an award of $1 million for the person that can stay in there for an entire night. So we see the gang, we see the guests. I think is that just meant to be a quick way of throwing them together?
I think so, and here's something that I am going to propose to you and to the ether, to this conversation. How are you comfortable, given, I mean, obviously not Fred by the end, but does it sully your idea of the Mystery Inc. gang anyway, given that it seems that, except with the exception of Fred, that a lot of the others' motivation for this mystery seems to be like money, or what?
I guess not, because it's kind of indifferent to me. Like, we've never seen them being money hungry before. In fact, at times it seems like they've had zero concept of what money is. So, and just didn't have any thoughts on it, really.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I don't think it was a completely necessary incentive to the point where it doesn't do anything to affect my view on them. I just wonder why it was necessary in the first place, except for, I guess maybe one of their iconic tricks could have been that like check thing they do at the end or something, and it would have been, oh, what a cool way to show that at the end. But I don't think that's completely necessary, but it was nice that they're going into this location with some type of end goal, some motivation, because it is weird from other points of views where you think, why do they stay here? Like, what's the actual reason to stay? Because if you were in that situation, you would just run away because it's ridiculous. And there's other instances of that, like, wasn't it A Night of Fright is No Delight? That was like inheritance, wasn't it? Like, yes, money. So was, yeah, I liked it a lot.
Okay, so we've got the motive, they're in the hotel, they go to look around and they go into the theatre. So the stage is all set up for a previous magic act, which, again, kind of keeping along that theme of magic, no issue there, kind of making the guest relevant as well, which we like to see. What did confuse me, and it could just be that I'm being a little bit simple here, is when the rabbit came out of the box. Because I was like, we've already got our villain, and then we've not seen them since the cold open. This seems quite chaotic. That's where my mind went initially.
Well, I agree it's chaotic, but at the same time, the second I saw the rabbit, I was instantly quite impressed with the episode. I really loved the concept of the rabbit, because all the times, all the criticism that I have with a lot of classic Scooby, and even some modern stuff too, is we're in this setting, like say we're in an aquarium or we're in the ice caps or something, so why is our villain just spooky zombie or spooky scary skeleton? Why is it not crazy fish or, you know, deranged polar bear with a flamethrower or something? Like, why do we not have some cool villain to go along with it? And so to me, the fact that we've got a magician episode, I would have been happy with, you know, reverse Doctor Strange type of villain or, you know, something like that. But the fact that there's a trope, you know, pull a rabbit out the hat so we get a massive, you know, were-rabbit, I just kind of think that that's awesome. Like an awesome mix between let's use our guest to an advantage. I just thought it was quite well done. And the design of the rabbit I liked a lot.
See, I definitely was getting the vibe that this episode's designed for an older audience because they didn't seem to have any concerns about scaring the audience. I think this villain looked quite terrifying. Then the person living in the penthouse looked quite terrifying. The purple monster did. So it was kind of like, I feel like there wasn't any... I mean, if you compare, and sorry to go back to this again, but like, compare each one of these three villains to the original, like, minor 69er or minor 49 or whichever number it is. It's minor 49er, isn't it? I'm just going to completely wrong.
No, I'm minor 69er, but
right.
Like, minor 49ers are completely different. Right.
Skimming over that mistake. It's the minor 49er that literally was like, is that the villain or is that another character?
Wait, actually, no. I'm not minor 69er. That sounds really criminal. Yeah, that actually sounds... I didn't think about it like that.
Taken a really
that
bad
sounded
U-turn.
criminal. I have not. I never will. 69.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I remembered it was minus something and then 9, okay? Skimming over all of this completely. But to go from something like that, where they could have just been conceived to be another character that wasn't a villain, to then have an episode like this with 3 terrifying characters, I'd say that this episode, certainly, there's less of a regard for a young audience here.
I think so, and I can't think to myself why, because I understand if it was a different type of guest. Like, I dare say, if it was the Ricky Gervais episode, I would understand them being a bit scary. Not like I've got a problem with it, but it's just kind of like... Because Ricky Gervais, when I think about his fan base, I can't imagine any of them being really young. Because kids nowadays wouldn't have the patience to sit through the kind of simplified version of The Office or Afterlife. And I say simple, I don't, just reverse bombastic. And his stand-up stuff is outrageous. Whereas Penn Teller, unless they're like doing some wildly inappropriate magic tricks, it seems like a relatively safe guess. Like you could just imagine it now. They're just on Netflix or on their iPad watching these people make a rabbit disappear. Like, it seems like quite a safe guess.
Yes and no. If they are renowned for performing in Vegas, you're not thinking that's a family environment. So it could be predominantly older audiences heading into the city to go and see them perform at night.
Maybe. Yeah.
Just a thought to throw out there. Anyway, so the rabbit comes out. This kind of... It triggers that standard chase scene where Shaggy and Scooby are going to interact with the villain. We see Teller hiding in the cupboard. We see Penn kind of interacting with Velma and the similarities that they have of this kind of intelligence and everything. So, yeah, it's interesting.
We have an instance of Velma losing her glasses in this episode, which I think comes out later on as well. And I think that's the first time that's happened. But also, correct me if I'm mistaken, I think this is the first episode of Guess Who that hasn't had a corridor scene.
Possibly. I can't say I've paid that much attention to it. I noticed the one in the museum because I thought that was really good, but other than that, I've not paid too much attention to them.
I don't know if they ever reveal this, but one thing I was thinking of, when they go up to the penthouse to look for Hugo, and they see the creepy Hugo guy getting attacked by the were-rabbit, they never revealed how that was done, though, or did they? Because I instantly got suspicious with it being only silhouettes, and then I was thinking that the thing that they do sometimes, I don't know if it's like a lot very popular, but I know that they do it in like China, or at least I've seen it in Kung Fu Panda. That's the extent of my knowledge about that. But where they have like sticks with paper cutouts of people in, and they make that like a light theatre show.
No, they did explain it at the end that it was cardboard cutouts going around on the train track that Scooby trips over.
See, that disappoints me. I thought it was going to be some cool light projector thing, but instantly I was suspicious about that whole scenario when I saw that it was just the silhouettes, just because I knew that there was a way to manipulate that.
And something that I was thinking when they go to unlock the door and it's a hairpin thing, I was like, oh, I feel like that should have been Daphne because it's a hair grip and everything. But then I like how she's the one that identifies that it's a fake nail on the wall.
Yeah, the acrylic nail. So it was good that they utilise that. I think that's how I prefer Daphne, where they don't need to change her too much. It just needs to be they use that side of her to be able to figure stuff out, like the movie where she knows what era a piece of fabric's from. Or even in... what is it? I think it's in Aloha where she just lets her hair down to identify which way the wind's going.
Yeah.
Like, all stuff like that, I think, is where Daphne works best.
Or even in the live action things when they're trying to escape Wickles Manor and it's the thumbprint thing.
Oh, I love that, yeah. I love Wickles Manor.
But, okay, so from this point they decide that it's time to set the trap, which, again, quite interesting. They decide to make it kind of centred around that magic box. So, yeah, interesting.
I mean, it is odd, because we speak about older audiences, and Daphne in this episode as the assistant, like, damn.
Yeah, but JayBee, you're always going to say that.
No, but, like, damn, that was something. Like, I thought, like, when you think about the whole... I know you don't like it when I say this word, but the whole pantheon of Scooby Doo episodes... If you were to tell me that at the start of this adventure into the Scoobyverse that it would be an episode of Scooby Doo and Guess Who that would have me acting up, I'd be like, Nah, surely not. But it was wild. I loved it, but again, putting my like professional, semi-professional hat on, it's a bit like I don't know how they got away with that.
So is the next point where somebody else had snuck into the building?
Snuck into the building. Who snuck into the building?
And they were hanging from the ceiling.
What? Oh
No,
my
so
gosh, that got very dark very quickly.
No, the trap triggers.
This is where you try and tangent away from this topic just to bring in some morbid...
No, doesn't... Okay, so at this point, we have just watched 2 episodes back to back, so this is where you're going to be like, oh, you're on the wrong episode, but I don't believe I am. So they've set the trap then is triggered, it lifts this person up to the ceiling, and it turns out to be somebody who was sneaking in.
Oh, yeah, Tess Flemings.
Yes, and she's like, no, it wasn't me. Then we have I've forgotten what the second one's name is, Penn
Teller.
Teller then goes into the box, they're trying to set the trap, the box kind of breaks apart, and the rabbit jumps out. So at this point, there was one thing that I like about this episode is I think there's enough clues for you to work out who it is. Because they were the only one in the box. They were the only one that was on their own when they all went exploring, like when he was finding the cabinet.
Yeah.
So I think there's enough clues for you to work this one out, which I always enjoy. And I kind of like the motive here as well, because I kind of worked out who it is. You'd worked out what the motive was. It has a bit of a nice resolution.
Yeah, there was a bit of like inconsistencies, like again with Daphne. When did she change out of the assistant outfit? Because in the middle of the chase sequence, wasn't she just back to like her regular clothing?
Yeah.
So again, obviously not a big deal, and if they kept her in that, it would probably be a bit complicated. But from like an animation point of view, like you mentioned the animation quite a bit, some consistency. I mean, I don't know how they would have done a quick change, but again, it's weird to dress her up in something to then write yourself into a scenario where you're either going to have a miraculous costume change or something. It almost seems like it would have been better to have her either just stay in the casual clothing or just keep her in the assistant outfit all along. But again, it's just consistency.
I do have a couple of animation errors with this show, I really do. There's one point in, like I said, we've just watched 2 episodes back to back, so it's either this one or the next one, where you get a side profile of Velma, and 1 second she doesn't have any teeth, then the next second she does. It's a side profile. It is this episode because she looked like a bunny in it. They gave her just 2 teeth at the front from a side profile, and then in the next kind of split second, she had the full set of teeth. So I'm kind of noticing a couple of animation errors as we go through. And I'm mentioning it because you mentioned it there. In the next episode, there's a part where how Daphne's got the lighter purple on her skirt?
Oh, yeah?
There's a scene where she's sat on the floor and the line's there of where it should switch colours and it just isn't. So just throughout, if anything, it's making it even more true to the source material, because how many errors did we see then?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely some stuff to pick up on. So like you said, there's a good resolution. We kind of half figured it out each, so it was a nice episode that we could figure out in a way, even to the motivation, because all the time you see, again, I get them confused, but the one that isn't the culprit is always like belittling the trick or the idea, so it's like, okay, this makes a lot of sense, and that was a nice ending. And then we had Fred giving away the $1 million, which is like, oh gosh, like it's admirable, but $1 million, that's a lot.
So I think that kind of rounds off this episode. JayBee, for you, is this one a smash or a pass?
I think this is a smash. I think I could see myself watching this quite a lot, possibly every day. But who knows, you can never tell with these episodes of Scooby. Like, I'll probably keep everyone updated. But I do predict I will watch this every day. So yeah, this is a big smash from me. And I love the Were-Rabbit. The Were-Rabbit is cool. I want to see more times where the villain kind of even is like some bombastic, crazy twist on the profession of these guests, because I think that's absolutely amazing. So, Millie, will you smash or pass? I've forgotten the episode name, but would you smash or pass it?
I kind of was flipping, but in the episode as to what my thoughts were. Like I said, I thought it was chaotic in parts, and I was like, I think this is going to be a pass. But ultimately, how it was rounded off at the end made me forgive all of that, because it was like, wow, one person was trying to pull all this off on their own. No wonder it seemed a bit chaotic. And I don't know, I was really happy with how it ended. I think it was really pleasant, really sweet. For me, I 100% would watch this one again. It's definitely... This one could even be my favourite one of this series so far. I did really enjoy it.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
It's just nice to see, like, a positive motive at the end. Like, oh, I was just trying to do it to be nice for this reason. And the person's like, oh, yeah, like, you know, this actually really scared me. I really enjoyed this. This was such a great gift. Thank you. As opposed to it being like, oh, I would have gotten away with it too. But I did also like how they did get that line in earlier when they unmasked the wrong person. Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm not ready to say if it's my favourite one yet. It definitely had some of like the highest highs, but I don't know overall if it's my favourite. I would love to, like, by the end of all these reviews, do like some type of tier list or ranking of every episode. I think that would be fun, but... Yeah, so that's 2 smashes, right?
Yeah, 2 smashes.
So that is amazing. So that concludes that review. The next review that we'll be doing is When Urkel-Bots Go Bad. So that's going to be a very interesting episode to talk about. If you do want to see that, then please stay subscribed. There's not much in the way of community news because these are quite far done in advance. But if there is anything, we'll probably make a separate video about it or something like that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and if you do want to see any more, then please like, comment and subscribe.
JayBee and Milly.